In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Dear audience, I am Dr. Khurram Shehzad from National University of Modern Languages, Islamabad. I am going to talk about feminism in literary theory today. So, I start with one of the quotations from Simone de Beauvoir, The Second Sex. To emancipate woman is to refuse to confine her to the relations she bears to man. In another quotation from Simone de Beauvoir, I quote, "One is not born a woman, rather, one becomes a woman." Dear audience, we have already talked about post structuralism, and we have read that structuralism creates a binary between male and female. And while creating the binary, it gives preference, it gives privilege to male members of the society. So feminism is going to resist such type of privilege. It is going to stand up against the notions, against the criteria, against the things that they have created for the male members of the society as well as for the female members of the society. So one is not born a woman. When one comes into this world, that is the biological sex that we determine at the birth of a child. It could be a male, it could be a female. But woman, she becomes a woman. Why? Because the society, it tells us, or it tells the female child that how she is supposed to walk, how she is supposed to talk, how she is supposed to sit, how she is supposed to laugh. And in this way, the society makes a woman. In this video, I am going to talk about feminist criticism, feminism, a little bit of history of feminism, types of feminism, and its relationship with other fields. Feminist criticism is the literary and critical theory that explores the bias in favor of the male gender in literature and which re-examines all literature from a feminist point of view. Way back, it was Wollstonecraft that she raised a voice for females in the society. It was in the 18th century that she wrote the Benediction for the rights of women, and she talked about that woman voice should be raised and she should be given equal status in the society, economically, psychologically, and socially. So we have seen that after that there is Virginia Woolf. She wrote an essay, A Room of One's Own, in which she talked about a woman should have her own room. A woman should have her own canon, because they thought that human beings, they have always been projected overall from the perspective of male. And the society in which the Western people, or even in Pakistan we are living today, it is called patriarchal society, where male members of this society, they decide that what should be taught, what should not be taught, what should be the part of the canon. Accordingly, only those subjects, only those authors, only those writers, they are taught to the students. Feminist criticism has two basic premises. Women presented in literature by male writers from male point of view. Women presented in writing of female writers from female point of view. Feminist criticism aims to understand the nature of inequality and focus on analyzing gender equality and the promotion of women's rights. As I have talked about Wollstonecraft and Virginia Woolf, they are usually called that they are the proponents of first wave of feminism. In this wave of feminism, right of vote for the women, suffrage, and equality in terms of, marital status or marital relationships was demanded. In broad definition, it is women's movement in 1960s to struggle for the equality of rights as social class. In literature, feminism is related to the ways in which understanding literary works in both production and reception. We will come across the terms like feminist, a political position referring to a woman striving for an equality of right, female, a matter of biology, feminine, a set of cultural characteristics given by the society. So we have got three waves of feminism. First wave of feminism, second wave of feminism, and third wave of feminism. Historical content. Women widely are considered to be intellectually inferior, physically weak, emotional, intuitive, irrational, suited to the role of wives and mother. Women could not vote, they were not educated at school and universities, and could only work in manual jobs. A married woman's property and salary were owned by her husband. So, this was the situation, dear students, that they were not given their proper and equal rights. If male members of the society are working in the same organization and females are working in the same organization and they are working for the same hours, so women, they were not given equal salary. And most of the time, if she was a married woman, her salary it was given to the husband. And it has always been like that women, they have been considered emotional, they have been considered intuitive, that they are intellectually inferior, and they are physically weak. And these notions, they are still there in Pakistan. If we go to the villages of Pakistan, you will come across that people adhere to the same kind of ideology. They were not given some other rights as well. For example, they could not go for abortion, okay, and it was very difficult for them to take divorce from their husbands. First wave feminism refers to a period of feminist activity during the 19th and early 20th century in the United States, United Kingdom, and Canada. The key concerns of first wave feminism were education, employment, the marriage laws, and the plight of intelligent middle class single women. Overall goal was to improve the legal position for women, in particular to gain women the right of vote. Basic assumptions were men and women have separate biologically determined roles and duties in society. Women work in the private spheres, men in the public sphere. So these were the roles that society determined for them in the past, and still in many of the cultures today, people think about women like that women are supposed to stay at home, they are supposed to bear children, they are supposed to take care of the household tasks, and men, they are supposed to go outside and earn for them. And even if you read Shakespeare, you will come across such type of quotations. Frailty thy name is woman. So this is how people, they were treating women. Even some of the bigger names like Plato, they thought that it is something good that they are not born women. In second wave, women could attend school and university. Women did not receive equal pay for the same work. It was easier to gain a divorce but socially frowned upon. Rape and physical abuse within marriage were illegal, but husbands were rarely convicted. Abortion was still illegal. Women's bodies were objectified in advertisement. Not only in advertisement, but also in literature, we come across that women, they were objectified. They were treated as a sex toy. They were treated as that they should look beautiful. So in T.S. Eliot, even if you read, one of the friends is asking, another female friend that your husband is coming from the war, so you should beautify yourself. You should look beautiful so that he should not pay attention to other women. So you should have new teeth. So such type of, pieces of advice, they were given to women. So they still did not have equal rights in second wave of feminism. So when we are reading literature, we need to understand that how women they have been presented by the male authors or even by the female authors, how male authors they present women, what kind of voice is given to women, how in different kinds of issues she is taking care of them, and female authors how they are projecting the female characters. Society is patriarchal, and it has always been patriarchal. Women may have legal rights, but they are still treated as inferior. Women should be equal to men in all respects. So these were the concerns of second wave of feminism. In 1960s to 80s, second wave of feminism, it gives a response to the experiences of women after the World War II. It dealt with inequality of laws and pioneered by Betty Friedan. Women achieved championed abortion rights, reproductive freedom, and other women's health issues. Well, dear audience, I should talk about that when you are analyzing any text from the perspective of females, what you are supposed to look for. Scan the text for traditional female stereotyping. See if the woman in the text you read is described as an angel, mad, temptress, and witch, false, and cheat, how she has been presenting. Either she has been presented as a queen, as a princess, that male members of the society should look after them and should provide them food and each and everything, or they are represented as temptress or as witches. So how they have been represented in the text, and specifically how male writers they are writing about them. General accusations about women. Try to find if the text accuses women of sentimentality, irrationality, conspiracy, and passivity. So women are considered passive, they are considered weak. So how they are being represented in the text or in the movies that you are watching or in the dramas which are being telecast on televisions. Abuses and derision. See if the text belittles women's achievement, pokes fun on them, and hurls abuses on them. Deliberate omission of women altogether from a narrative where they should be. So sometimes women they are not given voice at all. Even for women rights, males they are talking about. So see how they have been projected, how they have been depicted in the text. Once you fall upon the requested stereotypes, generalizations, or omissions inserted implicitly or explicitly in the narrative, you have next to read them against the grain of a masculine dominated culture that determines both reading and writing. That is to say, if you are a male reader, you should read against yourself and against your impulses. And if you are a female reader, you should be able to see the male biases in the narrative so that you can expose them their falsity. Look for the language used in the text. Observe whether the text uses traditional and conventional language patterns associated with the male order, or whether language is used unconventionally and thus associated with the female order. Marks of unconventionality include loss or multiplicity of voices in the narrative, parody, fluidity of expression, bricolage, repetition, exaggeration, whimsical, multiple point of view, and jouissance. Examine representation of women in literature by men and women and challenge representation of women as other or lack or as part of nature. Moreover, raise the question of whether men and women are essentially different because of biology or socially constructed as different. Coming back to the point raised in structuralism that there is a binary, men or male members of the society they are on the left side and they are privileged, and women they are on the right side and they are underprivileged, so they are considered as other. So when something is other, something is on the periphery, something is on the margin, that person is not given any privilege, that person is not given any importance. So female have always been projected as inferior physically, intellectually, emotionally, and economically. When these biases are there in the text or there in the dialogue of the characters or there in the movies or dramas, so you should read and try to understand these biases and try to expose these biases, and you should raise voice for them. You should talk about that there should be equality for men as well as for women. So there are certain questions which Charles Bressler raises in his book on feminism. Let's talk about those questions. They will also help you to find out the answers in the text. So, dear students, these questions are: is the author male or female? So, you will have to see if somebody is male. So, of course, women they will be presented from the perspective of males. And if the author is female, so of course, the whole scenario, all the events, all the characters, and especially the female characters, they will be presented from the perspective of females. Is the text narrated by a male or a female? What types of roles do women have in the text? Specifically, remember the third wave of feminism talks about these roles, and it takes these roles as performatives, because when women they are performing roles, basically they are performing them. So women, okay, for example, when she is supposed to stay at home and she is supposed to look after the children, so she is performing the role of a mother. So of course she is not given such type of priority in the society which she may have in other societies or western societies today. So in third wave, these roles which were identified in the second wave of feminism, they are treated as performatives. Are the female characters the protagonist or secondary and minor characters? So what kind of importance is given to the female characters in the text? Do any stereotypical characterizations of women appear? So most of the time, women they are presented stereotypically, they are presented irrationally, that they have no, they are not rational beings, they are not intellectual, they are subservient to the male members of the society. So look for these clues, try to find the answers of these questions in the text. What are the attitudes towards women held by the male characters? How the male characters they are treating females. Even in Pakistan, there are many dramas which are shown from the perspective of males. For example, there was a drama Baghi, which means rebel, or a person who rebels against the norms and traditions of the society. So women, if they raise voice for themselves, usually they are treated as rebellious characters of the society. So what is the author's attitude towards women in society? How does the author's culture influence her or his attitudes? Is feminine imagery used? If so, what is the significance of such imagery? Do the female characters speak differently than do the male characters? So look at the language specifically. Okay, usually, about females, it is said that multiple points of views will be presented. Okay, you will not find that their language is stable as compared to male characters of the texts. Compare the frequency of speech for the male characters to that of the female characters. In the end, dear students, I shall talk about its summary. Today we have talked about feminism. In feminism, we look at the problems of equality which are presented in the text, that how female characters or females they are represented in the text. Have they been given equal rights, or they have not been given equal rights, or they are repressed, or they are suppressed in the text or talk? So you try to understand the characters of the females, that how they are presented. In first wave of feminism, we have talked about equal rights. We have talked about that they were able to win the right of votes and suffrage for themselves. And then in second wave, most of the marital related issues they have been discussed. Abortion has been discussed, okay, because females they have the idea of lack. Their genitals are different as compared to male members of the society. So it is said that they are unable to produce the way male members of the society they are able to produce in writing or in speaking. So these issues you will have to see. In third wave of feminism, we have talked about that these roles, they are taken as performatives. And then I have talked about some of the questions that we can use to analyze the text. Thank you very much.